Okay, so this morning we wanted to just quickly share with you guys the whole experience about me getting sick and getting taken to the hospital.
Yeah, not fun.
Not a bad spot.
No, it's not a bad spot at all. It's a good place to come and hang out. Sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, other times in the
Never in the
evenings.
evening though. We've never been here in the evening.
No, we haven't.
So I have spent a lot of time on YouTube leading up to this trip watching so many videos of people who are visiting the city, and one of the things that stuck out to me often is tourists who will come and then immediately be eating from food stalls and hawker trucks and just diving right into the local cuisine. And that was never our intention.
No.
That was never our intention.
Although we did want to, try local foods.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that Kuala Lumpur is known for is being kind of a foodie central in Southeast Asia. And so we definitely wanted to take advantage of that. And I know you are normally even more adventurous than I am. I mean, I'm not overly adventurous to begin with, but you love to try new kinds of food.
I do. So to give you a little bit of context, we went to Cambodia a number of years ago and I got really, really sick. I contracted a parasite and I had to deal with that for years. So that's why we were not planning on just diving into like street food. Although I'm so impressed with people who can and their systems can handle it. So all that being said, we don't know where I got sick.
Good morning. So I spent the night in the hospital here last night. The doctor thinks that something has triggered in my the doctor thinks that something has been triggered in my digestive system as a result of eating or drinking something contaminated. This is only my third time in Southeast Asia and my second time getting very sick. He was saying to me, a really nice doctor, he was saying that unless you're familiar with the bacteria here in this side of the world, it's really, really common for Westerners to get sick when they're visiting Asia. So they've given me lots of fluids and lots of pain meds for my stomach and some anti-nausea, that kind of stuff. They run blood tests and I did an ultrasound yesterday. So I'm just waiting for the doctor to come this morning to fill me in on the results of the test from yesterday and then kind of see what's up. I don't feel 100% back to normal. When I woke up this morning right away, I was like, my stomach is still off. So let's just kind of see what happens.
I have some issues sometimes with my stomach. I had a gallbladder problem and it was removed. And ever since then, every once in a while, I'll have what we call a flare-up, where I'm in like a lot of discomfort, but usually it just kind of comes and goes and then I can go on with my life. So I thought that that's what this was when it first started.
How long did it take you until you realized, oh, this is not what I've experienced before, but it's something different?
I think the third flare-up.
She just came in and dropped this off, a little snack with tea. And one of the things I noticed that they do here is every room is given this pot of hot water and it's replenished a couple of times a day. And then they serve a little tea in between breakfast and lunch, and then again between lunch and dinner, and then again before bed. That's really lovely because sometimes that feels a little bit better than hospital food, you know? And then they also give each room one of these. And they'll fill it up to your heart's content. I love that it has the measurements right on there so you can see how much water you've had. What they do is they purify their water and then they boil the water and then they fill it here. So you know that you're getting really clean water at the hospital.
So I was feeling really unwell in the morning and we had planned on going to a different area of town that we really hadn't explored before. So I stayed home and Jeff and the girls went. And off and on all day, I just wasn't feeling well. My stomach was off. I was making multiple trips to the bathroom. We'll just leave it at that. When they came home, maybe about an hour after they came home, I had like what I would call a flare-up, a pain that I was familiar with. But this was a little more intense than what I was used to, and it lasted a longer time. By longer time, I mean 2 to 3 minutes, like not a really long time. And then I slept for an hour. So in my mind at that point, I was still like, okay, my stomach's just a little off. I must have eaten something a little, it's just not sitting right. And I had a little flare up that I'm used to having, but I'm sure I'm fine. That whole day, that's kind of where my mindset was at up until later on that evening. Then I woke up about an hour later and immediately had another flare up, and I was in excruciating pain in my stomach. It was just horrible. I mean,
yeah, when you say excruciating, you said it was the worst pain that you've ever felt in your life.
Oh yeah.
Including gallbladder attacks before you had your gallbladder removed.
Yeah.
Childbirth.
Oh yeah.
A hernia.
Childbirth with no medicine, like no medical intervention. Childbirth was longer, but not as intense as this pain was.
Considering that you've had a hernia before, you've given birth, and you've had a gallbladder removed, you're familiar. You have experience with abdominal
discomfort.
Pain. Yeah, discomfort.
Yeah.
So when you said this is the worst pain I've ever experienced, I take that seriously.
As you should.
All right, here's what we're doing right now. Actually, is we're walking over to a bakery that our family loves, and we go there multiple times a week. They serve some great coffee, some great flat whites. They also have some excellent baked goods. The pain au chocolat is a favorite of the kids, and Marisa and I love the croissants. And so we're heading over there right now to grab a coffee, grab a couple of baked goods, and yeah, just enjoy some time enjoying some good coffee and some good croissants.
I'm not kidding. When I say it was the worst pain I've ever experienced in my life, it was horrible, absolutely horrible. And then that pain continued consistently in about 30-minute increments over and over and over, lasting anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes. It was horrible.
Yes, what do you want?
Yeah, okay, I will have a green tea, please, a hot green tea.
I'll have a hot, long, black, please.
In the past, when you've had these flare-ups before, and it's been, uncomfortable and painful, but usually it's been manageable and like one or two, types of things. And so when I saw that you were having these flare-ups over and over and over again, and they were clearly more painful than anything you had experienced in the past, after a few of them, I start to wonder, well, what are we going to do if it doesn't stop? We can't just keep having these over and over and over again. Clearly, it's incredibly painful for you, and not anything that I want you to have to endure for any longer. So it was just after a few that you had a few of them, and then went back to bed and you went to sleep, which happened a couple of times after you would have these bouts. that I decided I need to start looking into. What do we need to do if you have to go to the hospital? And so I did a little bit of quick research, super quick research on local private hospitals that might be an option for us. And then I also touched base with our insurance company just to get whatever, give them a heads up as to kind of what was happening and get whatever information I would need from them in order to take you to the hospital should that become necessary.
What did you think when I was in the middle of a flare-up and then all of a sudden I would like burst in all over sweats, and I was like, you've never seen me like that before. I've never experienced that in my life.
No, the combination of you would burst out sweating, as well as you'd make comments about, I feel like I'm going to pass out. I feel like I'm going to pass out.
Right.
Both of those things were really strong indicators to me that, oh, this is not what you've experienced before, and therefore probably shouldn't be treated as if it's the same thing that you've experienced before.
Right.
That was concerning.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. I would say to him, it would kind of reach this moment where I would break out in all over sweats, and I don't just mean like a little dainty sweat. I mean like
Dripping,
wring out my shirt kind of sweat. And then my hearing would kind of like almost go away. It was really weird. And my vision would get like tunnel vision. And I remember I would say to Jeff, hold on to me, I think I'm gonna faint. I think I'm gonna pass out. So I had the presence of mind to know that that could be the next thing. But those three symptoms, the hearing and the vision and the sweating, I had never experienced that in addition to any pain I had had in the past.
yeah.
And it was just one after the other. And then when we did decide to call, you said, okay, I'm calling an ambulance. That was when it was kind of like contractions, like when you're in labor. They went from like being 1 hour apart to getting closer together, and then it reached a point where it was just one after the other, and it wasn't ever subsiding completely. And it was during the third one of those that we called an ambulance.
Right, so I thought to myself, it doesn't appear like they're going away, but in fact they seem to be getting worse or just as bad. And so I thought, I think we need to go to the hospital. I had made the arrangements. I had all the information that I needed from speaking to the insurance company. I knew what I needed to do in order to get you to the hospital. And so at that point, it's just thinking, well, what's the worst case scenario here? It would be that we get an ambulance and we get you to the hospital, and then if it doesn't flare up, like if it turns out that it's all past and there's nothing more to see here, well then we have a really, we have a long night and we're tired and we're exhausted, but like that would be the worst of it. But if it's going to continue, well then I don't want you to continue here. I want you to get some attention from somebody who can help relieve the pain and hopefully identify what's going on and help to fix it.
So this is where I've stayed the last 24 hours. It's actually a really nice big private hotel room. No, it's a hospital room. And one thing that I've noticed here is how extremely clean everything is. They've mopped the floor and cleaned the bathroom twice since I've been here. I've been here for 24 hours. Yeah, everything's really, really clean. So originally they thought for some reason Jeff was gonna spend the night, so they brought this cot in. And of course, Jeff did not spend the night. He went home with the girls to our Airbnb. But he and the girls came yesterday, so we laid the cot on the floor and everyone was just sitting down and people took turns having naps. And so it was actually nice to have it in here, even though we didn't use it. But this is what I've been calling home for the last 24 hours. So we just had a visit from the doctor. So he said if I eat breakfast and lunch today and don't have any flare-ups, that they will send me home. And then in addition to the treatment of pills that I need to finish, they're gonna send me with a whole other round of them, so that if this happens again with me or anyone in the family, we can take care of things before it gets out of hand, like it did with me. He was just really, really sweet, really kind guy. He grew up in Malaysia. He moved over to London and Ireland, I think he said, for a decade or so. And then now he's been back in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur for the first time for 10 weeks. But he was like, people get sick here all the time. Travelers get sick here all the time. So again, he warned us, basically stick to eating food at hotels or food that's been boiled or food that you know is cooked and it's served hot. He said avoid salads, and when we asked him why, it was because a combination of unsafe food handling practices. And in addition to that, if a lettuce is sitting out and it gets to be room temperature, it'll just obviously create the right environment for bacteria to grow. And it's bacteria that's not commonly found in our guts, so our body deals with it in a very different way. See, the sad thing for me is I was already being very selective and very careful. I was intentionally checking out kitchens and looking for what looked like clean facilities and watching the workers if they were washing their hands. I was being very diligent and ordering things that looked like they would be cooked and whatever, but obviously something managed to sneak past me. Just brought me a mint tea from Starbucks.
And the donut, it's shaped like a diamond.
Or a
square.
It's a square donut.
With a little sign that says, our donuts are now square because we don't cut corners.
Really?
Yeah. And if you want to pay a little bit extra, I could have had this donut covered with a piece of premium cheese. So I'm not sure what that's all about. They have a number of different things in their food display that have a little sign that's like, add slice of premium cheese on food items that don't normally
at home.
North American. At home, you wouldn't think of as coming with cheese. So it's a weird,
it's unusual.
It seems like a weird or unfamiliar, unusual, way of serving it. But obviously here, it's one of the things that people like to do is to add a slice of cheese to whatever it is that they're doing. Also, they automatically warm up. Almost every pastry that you gets warmed up. And if you don't want it warmed up, then usually it's like you got to grab them and ask them, as opposed to at home where they'll usually ask you if you want it warmed up before they just make the assumption. So just different places.
But looking at your donut, I think by not cutting corners, it's actually larger.
It probably is a little bit larger. Yeah.
Here we go. We're leaving the hospital. What an adventure.
Not the kind of adventure we were hoping for.
That's right. Go to Kale, they said.
It'll be fun, they said.
It'll be fun, they said.
There's delicious food there, they said.
Thank you.
So basically they got me filled with fluids and pain meds, and I can't tell you how many times I had to say, because there's so many nurses and different staff coming in and assisting, to say, I'm allergic to certain medications, please don't give me those medications. I was nervous, but it was a really great experience overall. The hospital was great, the nurses were amazing, the doctor was unbelievable. Really great experience overall. If you have to go to a hospital on vacation, that was a good one.
Yeah, just adds to the adventure.
Right?
Yeah, it's a story. Yeah, it's a story to the adventure.
Yeah. So that's it. If you follow along on Instagram, you would have found this out a little bit earlier. So thank you guys for your sweet messages and your prayers. That was so encouraging to receive. But I'm feeling good.
Like you should.
We're doing good. Anyways.
Too blessed to be stressed.
That's right. Off to enjoy the rest of sabbatical. Thanks for watching.